I knew that something bad is gonna happen.
The documentary Screams Before Silence profiles sexual violence during Hamas's attack on Israel on October 7th and beyond.
He came towards me and just pointed the gun really hard at my forehead.
The screaming and we got shot. And then silence.
Sheryl Sandberg arrived in Israel to bear witness. For 14 years, she served as COO at Facebook and wrote the #1 best-selling book, Lean In, focused on empowering women.
A year ago, I was not this active at all.
Sandberg says October 7th changed her.
This is the most important work of my life. And maybe everything I've done has led to this moment.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
We met up with Sandberg at the Museum of Tolerance, where she hosted a screening of the film.
Sheryl Sandberg, welcome to The Issue Is, and thank you so much for making this film.
Thank you for having me and for the attention you're bringing to this. I'm super grateful.
And it's, you know, a sobering place where we are right now, the Museum of Tolerance. You look around us and Anne Frank's image here, and there was so much silence during that period. And you think of this, Screams Before Silence, which that title has a lot of meanings, it seems like. What does that title mean to you?
I mean, that title is, I think, two things. One is literally about people who were sexually assaulted and raped and then killed. Most of the victims of Hamas's brutal sexual assault and violence on October 7th have died. They were killed. And so it is their literal screams before silence. But I think it's also the screams before the silence and worse, lack of belief that this happened.
And why it's so important to get the word out there. And for you, you have built up this extraordinary platform through so much hard work. You could pick any topic to be the thing that you're shining a light on. Why this topic? Why was this so personal for you?
Because I think so many years after we taught everyone they needed to believe women, and I was part of that, and really, like, we have to believe women, the politics of our time are so polarizing that people are turning a blind eye to something that has to always be true. This is a humanitarian crisis on all sides. War is never acceptable, but no matter what you believe should happen in the Middle East or anywhere else, sexual violence should never be used as a tool of war, and we must all speak out wherever it occurs, and that's why I made this.
And one of the big takeaways from this is that this was the strategy. It was not only let's get in there, let's kill people, but raping people was part of the plan.
Correct. And what this film gives people an opportunity to do is not to hear it from you, not to hear it from me, we were not there, but to hear it directly from the eyewitnesses, and importantly, mostly eyewitnesses to what they saw on dead bodies, because most of the victims were killed. And that makes this very different than many situations. But there's one thing that's not different, which is that we have to stand united against any time sexual violence is used as a tool of war.
You're there with them as they relive this. How does that experience change you?
It's hard, but it's so much less hard for me than for them. I mean, you walk with released hostages into their home. It's all in this film. Where like father and husband was killed, sister was killed, taken. These are peace-loving people living in a kibbutzim on the border because they believe in peace with their neighbors. You sit there and you listen to, or you stood, I guess, grown men crying. Grown men, these huge men, they tower above. I mean, you are fairly tall too, but this guy towers above me, and he is looking at trees and crying because those were the trees where he saw bodies, naked, but bloodied. This is what this is.
That's what we have to talk about.
And he's crying because he didn't save enough of them, even though he saved many.
Right.
This is something the world can't stand for, and we have to understand that this is terrorism. Terrorism by people who absolutely say they want to end Israel. They want death to Jews. They want death to America. They want death to our values. This is not just about the Israelis and people of other nationalities, including Americans who were harmed and taken captive on October 7th. This is about a threat to our values, and we have to fight against that terrorism.
Well, I know as an interviewer, sometimes you're supposed to remain somewhat dispassionate, but it looked like there were several moments where you put your arm out or gave them a hug or felt their humanity and wanted to be there for them. I mean, what was that like for you?
I tried, to be there and understand, not understand, I guess, but be there and make sure they knew they weren't alone and thank them for what they had gone through and for the bravery to share their story so we can all stand against this.
How has this film has been out now for several months, been seen by millions of people, over 1 million views on YouTube. What does that reaction mean to you? And talk about what you're hearing back from people.
Well, I'm grateful that we were able to put it on YouTube so it can be viewed for free by anyone. What I hear over and over again is, thank you. I didn't know this happened. I didn't believe it happened, but it's just, you can't refute it when you hear it directly from these people. So I'm hoping more people watch so that we can fight this together.
We're just at this museum of tolerance, which has looked through the history of anti-Semitism for so many generations, thousands of years really. How do you put this moment in historical context? And what does being here amongst all of this while seeing this, how is that something you're thinking about?
It's such a good question. In my lifetime, I'm 55 years old, I thought anti-Semitism was largely a thing of the past. Stories my parents and grandparents told me, my great-grandparents fleeing from Europe pre-World War II, as so many did. I'm lucky they did. But I don't think that's true anymore. I think the anti-Semitism is real. I just dropped one of my children off in college and walking, it was like the parent fair for all the stuff for the parents to see. And there was a booth that said, safety and security for Jewish students. A year ago today, because we're not yet at October 7th, if you had told me I was going to drop my kid off at college and I would walk past that booth with a line of people there to find out how to keep their kids safe, I would have thought you were crazy. But that is the reality for our kids. And that's unacceptable. We have to fight hate, intolerance in all of its forms, including anti-Semitism.
Well, this helps to do it by shining a light on what's really happening. Thank you for making it, and thanks for all the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you for this.
Really appreciate it.
Watch the full documentary for free anytime. Search for Screams Before Silence on YouTube. We'll be right back.